The movie starts with John Chapman, a former U.S. Marine struggling with PTSD. He drinks to honor his fallen comrades and plays Russian roulette, trying to end his life, but the gun doesn't fire. Later, John is at a store buying alcohol when two robbers with guns burst in. One points a shotgun at him, but John stays calm. He even dares the robber to shoot him, calling their bluff. When the robber hesitates, John quickly takes them down and gives the stolen money back to the store owner. At home, John battles PTSD. He struggles to breathe and uses tough workouts to distract himself. One night, his sister Cindy visits. The next day at dinner, Cindy notices John isn't taking his PTSD medication. He brushes it off, saying he doesn't like the pills. John asks if she's okay, but she seems nervous and doesn't give a clear answer. The next day, Cindy flies to Brazil. Soon after, we see two police officers, including Katerina, being led to a beach by a local child. There, they find Cindy badly beaten but alive. Katerina calls for an ambulance. Manny Ridley, a veteran and diplomat, informs John about Cindy's condition. John immediately heads to Brazil. Meanwhile, Katerina is handing out soda in a favela when gunshots ring out. She and her partner investigate, only to find Detective Santo and Officer Barroso have already arrested suspects. But the locals turn against the police, pointing guns at them. Santo proposes a fight. The locals' best fighter will face the police's best. If the police lose, they'll free the suspects and leave. If they win, they'll continue their search for Cindy's attacker. Detective Barroso fights the locals' champion and wins easily. Santo assures the crowd that the police will return. John meets with Manny and Santo, who allow him to investigate Cindy's case alongside Katerina. Later, at the hospital, John finds an Asian nurse injecting something into Cindy's IV. He initially suspects nothing, but Cindy begins convulsing. Doctors stabilize her and inform John that they have no Asian nurses on staff. This was an assassination attempt. John visits the spot where Cindy's body was found and encounters a young man wearing her necklace. After a brief confrontation, the young man Kaka explains that Cindy had been helping him and others in the favelas. The necklace was a gift from her. Kaka then gives John Cindy's journal, although some pages are missing. Using sandpaper, John uncovers a hidden message in the journal. A phone number. He calls it and arranges a meeting with Bruno, a contact Cindy had trusted. Bruno reveals that Cindy had been investigating the disappearance of prostitutes in the favelas. She arranged a meeting with someone who could expose everything and had asked Bruno to take photos. Bruno gave Cindy the originals but kept copies as insurance. As Bruno prepares to leave, his car explodes, triggering John's PTSD. At the scene, John spots an Asian woman resembling the nurse from the hospital. She escapes in a car, and John gives chase but is ambushed by armed assailants. Despite being outnumbered, he manages to hold his own until the attackers retreat. John and Manny examine the photos Bruno left behind and realize the Yakuza might be involved. They head to a nightclub tied to the Yakuza to find the man Cindy confronted. There, they meet DJ Lima, who admits to being a smuggler. He explains that Cindy caught him making a deal and confronted him. Unfortunately, his client, likely responsible for the attack on Cindy, was watching. Lima gives John the client's location, and John sets off with Manny. Meanwhile, Santo leads a brutal raid on the favelas, targeting wanted criminals. His hit squad kills several people without remorse, leaving carnage in their wake. Chapman arrives at the extravagant villa that Lima directed him to and finds a display of wealth, women, and several influential individuals. Among them, he spots the Asian woman from earlier. The guard leads Chapman to a balcony at the back where he notices a black van pulling up, transporting young girls into the mansion. Chapman recognizes one of the girls as Maria, Kaka's sister. The guard suddenly attacks Chapman, but the Marine swiftly overpowers him. Meanwhile, back in the favelas, a policeman spots a Japanese man loading into a black van and orders him to freeze while calling for backup. Santo and Barroso arrive on the scene, and the officer informs them of the situation. However, Santo unexpectedly shoots the young officer in the head. It is revealed that Santo and Barroso are working with the Japanese woman who attempted to assassinate Cindy. In a shocking twist, Santo's raid on the favelas was not to apprehend criminals but to eliminate those who could expose their pedophile ring. The Yakuza had hired Santo to clean up loose ends, and the Japanese woman informs him that his payment will be waiting at the docks. At the mansion, Chapman continues evading guards while locating where the abducted girls are being held. Meanwhile, the Yakuza boss, Haramoto, orders the Japanese woman to finish the job at the hospital and kill Cindy. Haramoto also interrogates and executes Lima with a sword, leaving a bloody warning for others. The guards corner Chapman, but he defeats them effortlessly. Santo and Baroro arrive at the scene and Chapman explains what's happening. Just as it seems Santo might kill him, Katerina and her partner arrive, forcing the corrupt detectives to back off. Chapman leads the group to where the children are held, but to his shock the room is empty. Santo demands that Chapman hand over the sensitive shipping manifests he is carrying. Unaware of Santo's involvement with the Yakuza, Chapman complies. However, he quickly grows suspicious and tails Santo to the docks. Meanwhile, the Yakuza assassin is about to kill Cindy at the hospital when Officer Katerina intervenes and fatally shoots her. At the docks, Chapman discovers a group of mercenaries. Santo, Baroro, and Haramoto preparing a shipment to Japan. He contacts Manny Ridley, warns him not to use police radios due to Santo's double-cross, and requests backup. Chapman then infiltrates the warehouse, defeating numerous goons in an impressive display of combat skills. Santo and Baroro fight Chapman. Chapman traps Santo under crates and battles Baroro one-on-one. Baroro puts up a tough fight but is eventually beaten. Santo breaks free and tries to fight again but is quickly defeated. Both Santo and Baroro recover and attack Chapman together. As they fight, Haramoto tries to stab Chapman with a sword but misses. Chapman fights all three, landing heavy punches on Santo, breaking his ribs and stabbing Baroro's foot with a knife. Chapman then faces Haramoto alone. Using ceramic pipes as weapons, Chapman fights the sword-wielding Yakuza boss. Haramoto manages to cut Chapman, but Chapman overpowers him and brings him to his knees. Haramoto pulls a gun and shoots Chapman, taunting him about his sister. Furious, Chapman beats Haramoto with the pipes and finally shoots him multiple times to end the fight. Before dying, Santo denies hurting Cindy and gives Chapman a key to evidence in a locker. He asks Chapman for a gun to end his life, and Chapman agrees. Chapman saves the kidnapped children and takes them to safety as the police arrive. At the hospital, Cindy is awake but faces a long recovery. Later, at a cafe, Ridley offers Chapman a job with the State Department and promises Cindy will be cared for. Chapman accepts the job. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.